Ladies and gentlemen, this is the CSC TT250, and this is its natural habitat. Now today we're going to do a full review on this bike. I've had it for 1 year, and a little bit over 3,000 miles on it. Done some mods. We gave a new headlight. I just installed some heated grips. I took off the bark busters, and I have another pair, but right now I'm just testing these heated grips out.
Alright folks, so just a little background on where I'm coming from when I'm reviewing this bike. So far I've owned 6 bikes. This is the 6th. I'm thinking about getting the 7th, but we'll see. I had a 1982 Honda Nighthawk 450 SC. After that I went down and I got a Suzuki CSC TT250, which was my first real cruiser bike, if you can call it that. After that I jumped up to a 1985 Honda Magna V45, which I really like that bike a lot, but it was needed a little bit of work and the maintenance costs were too high. After that, then came the CB550, which I rebuilt from a rolling rusted frame and redid everything. And that bike I liked a lot too, and that's what really got me into the smaller bikes, actually. Not being satiated with that, I decided to get a Kawasaki Vulcan 800. And that was another good bike, but that was pretty much a car as far as I was concerned. Still a very good bike. That brings us to the TT250, which is my first bike that I have bought new. All the other bikes were used. This is still a carbureted bike, which I've only ridden carbureted bikes. If I do get a new bike in the future, it'll probably be a road bike and probably definitely fuel injected. Just curiosity. I haven't had problems messing with carbs or dealing with any of those issues. The main problem I see that people have with carburetors is they don't ride their bikes, or they don't put the stabilizer and they winterize it, and end up problems. So far with this bike, I have not had any problems starting it up, and there was a good, I'd say, 3.5, almost 4 months where it pretty much just sat. What does annoy me about this bike is it doesn't have a choke lever switch on the handlebars, and the handlebars themselves are kind of cramped. I'll probably have to replace them in the future just to, I don't know, figure out how I can jam more stuff on the handlebars. But basically, if you want to choke the bike, if it's cold, which I really haven't had that issue, even though it does get to probably about, say, 20 degrees at night here, so it's definitely cold in the mornings. There is the old style switch on the carburetor that's got 3 positions. And as far as reliability, I have not had any issues with the engine thus far. And this bike has been dropped quite a bit. Actually, these mountains to the left of me, I was running down one of them and pretty much lost control, and the bike went end over end. Had a little tough time starting, but it did start back up. Got right back on it, and there was no problem really. Now, as far as the stock chain goes, I got rid of that pretty much right away when I did the 47 tooth sprocket mod, and I got an O-ring chain that has been fine. The main issues I have had with that was the chain adjusters when I did that mod and did not tighten them up and Loctite them. But from the factory, everything on this bike I believe has been Loctited. Hasn't really had any issue with anything coming loose or falling off or rattling. I'd also like to say that with the handlebars, they seem to be a pretty decent quality. For as much as I've dropped this, and I'd say probably the worst was on these hard-packed roads, which is pretty rough. It's pretty much like concrete. But I haven't had any bends or any issues with the handlebars. Again, I put on the Bark Busters, the cheap eBay ones, but they have done the job perfectly. I haven't broken any levers yet. Now, if you're gonna do off-grid van or bus dwelling, this is how you do it. These guys out here, not too far from town, but out there enjoying one of those mini schoolies. That wouldn't be a bad idea, a mini school bus. I've never actually been out this way on this fire road here. This is going back east along I-80, well, kind of along I-80, and I have no idea what's out here, or if I can even ride up here, but we'll see. So again, what about this bike? Plastics. Let me just check, see if anybody's gonna shoot at me while I'm out here. No. Doesn't say anything about no motorized vehicles, but and there's plenty of tire tracks here, so I don't. Looks fine to me, I'm guessing. Alright, one thing this bike is perfect for, and probably most of the CSC bikes, including the RX-3, is these types of fire roads and whatnot. This bike does not have the best suspension. You can easily bottom out. I am probably, I would say, $185, and on these types of divots and bumps and whatnot, if I were to just sit down, I will definitely bottom out the suspension. There's not a lot of travel here, but this bike is made to stand up, and standing on it is very comfortable. I am about 5'11", and I have no problem controlling this bike while standing up, and at the same time sitting down, I don't really feel cramped on it. It's an upright seating position, and the seat is actually really comfortable compared to other bikes that I've ridden. The seat this is the stock seat, it's very comfortable. So who is this bike for? I'd say it's definitely a beginner-friendly bike. Not necessarily a beginner bike, because of course anybody could ride one of these things. The one thing I do like about it is the price point is perfect. If you want something more specifically this, trail riding, you want something that's more than, I'd say, like the 50cc type of old trail bikes, or maybe you couldn't find a decent dual sport. That was one of the reasons why I got this originally. I didn't want somebody else's bike from Craigslist that was destroyed, and I wanted something that was cheap and fairly reliable. This has the Honda CG clone engine, so these types of bikes all over the world are what people pretty much use and abuse, and they last a long time just because the engine design is such that it's very simple. It's air cooled, there's no liquid cooled, so it's one thing you gotta worry about is stationary if you're in traffic or something like that, but it's such a small engine that as soon as you get going, you'll be fine. Now the reason I stopped here was because I was feeling a little bit of buzzing, but the thing was ironically today when I was taking off the plastics and whatnot to route the wiring for these heated grips, one of the rubber grommets that the plastic thing fell off, so the plastic is hitting the side of the gas tank and it's buzzing a lot. But aside from that, everything that's gone wrong with this bike has been something I've done or not done to it. Now I'm still running the stock tires on this, which probably in the next couple of months, as we get into summer, I'll definitely switch them out for some better quality tires. The stock tires are actually pretty good, especially for this type of terrain. What I mean is, anything that's not super deep sand or heavy thick mud is pretty okay with these tires. On the pavement, they're fine. One thing I wish, or I'll just have to get, are basically tires that are just a little bit wider. I think this bike would definitely benefit from that on off-road. And that is why I like this bike. It is definitely easier to manhandle and control than, say, a KLR or something like that, DRZ. I would have probably definitely gone down there, and I don't really want to, considering I don't have the bark busters on. So let's talk about on-road. Now, this bike has 16 horsepower, not a lot. Oh, here's a neat trick. I'm going back onto pavement from mud and dirt, ride through some gravel, because it'll clean your tires for you, basically. On-road, this bike is highly controllable, highly maneuverable. It's great for urban environments just due to the gas mileage that you'll get from it. If you're just going to go around the city and whatnot, I would have gotten this instead of the Grom, definitely, just because of the capability of off-road. But on-road, there's no real issue with it. Unless you're going on long highway commutes, I wouldn't choose this bike. But is it highway capable? Of course it's highway capable. Any bike that can hit highway speeds is highway capable. Are you going to like that? Maybe not. On the highway right here. Although this is a secondary highway, so the max speed is like 65 instead of 70 on I-80. Which is still pretty up there. But this bike can handle it with the 47 tooth and a not so windy day. It can definitely handle it. Later in the year, I'll probably be doing some longer trip vids on some of the secondary B roads and highways and whatnot. Although I am thinking of getting a second bike, more road-oriented, some mid-range cruiser. I'm actually thinking about the Rebel 500, which is kind of odd, but I like the small bikes. I like the lightweight. This is something about that, and also the gas mileage too. As you can see, we're getting up probably 60, 63, 4. You're not going to zip along, but then again, this is a dual sport, so everybody, yes, is going to pass you. But can you get from point A to point B? Of course you can. Do you mind the wind? I personally don't. I actually like the wind, the feeling of the wind on my chest and whatnot. I don't mind that. Of course, that probably slows me down. But, the bike handles fine. It's very stable. It is very, very stable. Well designed as that is concerned. Should you get one? If you're looking at a dual sport that is very cheap, you can't find anything else, you don't want a big bike, a heavy bike, and you want something more than, say, the Hawk 250, or if you can't get that in your area, definitely get this bike. It fits the bill, and it does what you need it to do, nothing more. But it's good for off-road. It's not a dirt bike. Just remember, nobody gives a fuck what you ride. Just ride.